Hello, friends. How are you today? Thank you so much for being here with me today to look at the Schumann resonance, talk about the human experience, and talk about energy, how it works, how it affects our lives, and what the Schumann really means for us. So there is an amazing dynamic going on in this chart. I want to show it to you. I took this early, the data filled in. Here's what it looked like as it progressed. Midnight is right here. You can see that the main image is between these bars. Then there was almost like a blue space, like a big pause, and now it's on, this is the current chart right here. And the primary image on the chart is really this right here, but it really extends to what's between this, almost like a gateway, these two rods of frequency. That's what I like to call them. So look at this. This is phenomenal. First, flat line in red frequency. This is highly unusual. And let me show you something. We've seen this before. I'm gonna show you. But generally, the frequencies, I just want to okay, so you see here, this is 19.58 and 20. Okay, so there's a 0.4 to 5 difference between these two. So 0.4 to 5. So this is about 0.2 hertz, 0.2 range, that for 20 hours that red was moving in here. So it's about 14 to 10. We have seen this before. When was that? We've seen this before. Last year in the fall, it was 2021, and there was all this pressure on us. I don't know if you remember, because it seems like 100 years have passed since last year in the fall. But this is when everyone was being forced to either get the jab or lose their jobs. I actually lost my job at that time, as I mentioned in at least one video. It was upsetting, but that's what happened. Okay, so basically, there was all of this intense pressure to force the whole of humanity to go a certain way. It also showed in the qualities. All right, that's why I put this big arrow. What? It's happened again. Okay, watch this. Look at how the qualities jumped up and then flatlined up here for really about 20 hours. Yeah, right here. Okay, so this happened around 21.8. It was centered around maybe 22, a little over 22. And that's where, this is what happened last year. If you remember, this was what I called the walls of Jericho. It's like there was a frequency wall that was established. There was a pattern, of a rhythmic pattern that was established. And I have videos on this. It was interesting because the planet Pluto on the astrology charts was in a very interesting place at the time. So in my videos from the fall, you could go and look at that and see what I was talking about. There's also a Walls of Jericho video that I made. It was January to early February of 2022 this year. Here's what happened. The extended pattern up here from all of this really forced, really truly not a country narrative, but a global narrative, it broke. And it broke when the Canadian truckers entered Ottawa at that weekend as they pulled in Friday morning. I think it was Friday morning on the 29th of January, 2022, the walls broke. The frequency barrier essentially broke and was not reestablished. It could not gain a new foothold. The walls of Jericho fell. Now remember that in the Bible story of Jericho, it was a spiritual mechanism that broke the walls of Jericho. They walked around the city 7 times. So here's the thing. For 20 hours, this happened again. Now, if we look at where the chart's at currently, okay, so I showed you this is the current chart. And then here's the quality. See, there's a red rise again. So it broke. The pattern broke. It took until really something happened here, and it was at 18. Okay, but it fell. Something happened here. And now it's trying to rise again. So today into tomorrow, we'll see what happens with this. This, in my view, was a pattern established by extremely intense fear-based propaganda upon all of us. It's that inner connection that breaks this pattern, that inner connection with divinity. Let's look at the frequencies in green. Now remember, I've talked about 25.2 as being an important point. Everything, see, leading up to this, we were really under 25.2. So our spirit was more broken. Our faith was at issue. We're having trouble believing. There's a ton of black pills. There's all these people making strange moves. Our faith is being tested. Why did this happen? So there's all of this energy going on right now. I discussed in my last video about the astrology of the data break, of the missing data at that time. And I talked about how the influence of Mars and Pluto together. See, Mars and Mercury, right? We have a lot of energy for mental strategies. Not Mars and Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini. That's why I said that. Mars in Gemini is about mental facilness, the qualities of Mercury, communication, facilness with communication. And Mars is out of bounds, so there's all this energy for that. But with its spiritual aspect to Pluto, that's called a quincunx, with the spiritual aspect, it's like there's the shadow war. There's the psychological war. Why? Because Pluto, in the house of government policy, big institutions, Pluto wants to control. And if it doesn't control, because control is the lower expression, but very common expression, the higher dynamic is to find the soul, to find the divinity. And there's no one who does that better than Pluto. So Pluto and Mars can work together especially with Mars and Gemini, the house of mental operations, and communicating about those. And Pluto is sitting at the house of policy, very close to the Mars points. There's all these traditional ancient points. That's about a psyop. And what happens is either it gets us or we break it. And that's why I called the last video, Break the Psyop. And the way you break the psyop is you break the frequency wall. You break your engagement with that. And how does that happen on an individual level? You connect with your inner divinity within. And so now let's go to, I want to show you what happened was, see, that's why I said 18 was important. Because see, the frequencies broke at 18 and then red started moving again. But look what happened. 26. See, we broke out of that pattern of being below 25.2. See how I told you that was an important level? And here you can see the proof of that. For those of you where I kept saying, oh, I've explained it before, let me just show you, okay? I'm going to make it really big and clear. This right here, it's too thick, but I want you to see it. That's why I'm making it so thick, like it's not accurately at 25.2, because of the thickness, it actually goes over several hertz levels. I want you to see, here we are, beat down, because the green in my view represents the general state of humanity. We are like trying to crawl ourselves out of this, psychological hit that we've taken. Like, what is happening in the world based on events over the last few days? And you also had that big thing in the crypto. It's just crazy what's going on in that area. And that there's a lot going on with that. But yet somehow we gather our strength and we hit 26.8. And then shortly after we do that, the wall of Jericho breaks. And you see, when we hit 26.8, we gather our courage, banging on the table. There's a dip in the red, and there's a dip in the yellow, and there's a dip. Why? The dip shows an expanded consciousness. That's how I've come to interpret that on the chart. And that I have explained recently in other videos. So here, it's our inner courage. The qualities are still low, right? So the quality for the human, the more connected we are with our inner divinity and soul, the higher it is. But we have the memory of that. There's a spike here right after 10. There were spikes before it. And then there's a final spike here in amplitudes before the break in the frequency wall. So we get our courage up, we get our power up, we get our energy back up, and we're going on the inner memory. We're going on faith without feeling the connection to God, just knowing that it's there for us. But there are times when you are under deep pressure and when you are under emotional challenge, you can't always feel that divine presence, okay? And you have to go on you just have to go on, I know he's there. I know divinity has my back. There's one last interpretation I want to do here, and that's the intuitive interpretation about the image. So here's the thing. In the summer, in July of either 2020 or 2021, I did a video about the flag, and I had mentioned that in some videos back at that time, because this pattern has occurred over and over with like the line and then this energy here. And in the past, this pattern after the rod here has looked much more cohesive, and I called it a flag pattern. But here, this is about breaking the flag. It's not just about breaking the flag for our country. There's an energy here. You have that flat line, that wall that's attempting to be built for humanity, and it's occurring in red, which is the greatest density that we can experience as human beings. So it's attempting to take advantage of fear and anger, because these are the ways you manipulate humans, and mental manipulation at a time when Pluto and Mars are in this interesting aspect between the policy areas of our lives and big institutions and the communication and our mentality. See that perfect energy of Psyop. And you can see here, now it's being revealed. What is this about? It's about breaking the flag of nations, not just our nation, but of nations in general. We're being shown what the ultimate goal is here. And as a living human being embodied in human form, you can use your divine authority to express to God, talk to God, report to God how you feel about this. And my report is, I do not consent. I show God what I wish for. This glass through which the woman looks at the world. Okay, it's like our lens of perception, or the lens we are being offered. It's an offer. Use the light of God within you, within the soul connection, to create this image in front of you that I present. That's why there's this suppression mechanism, adjusting the frequencies through communications, presenting to humanity an offer from whatever that force is making the presentation. This is what we wish to create. And we are being asked to use our divine force within. That is literally from our heart and soul and our connection, the Christed light within, the light of the soul that we are. We are being asked to use this to create the reality that we are presented with. Thank you guys for the comments to my last video. They were really supportive, and I just really appreciate you. Venus is about to move into Sagittarius. Okay, I think that's on, Venus is at 0, the most potent expression of the energy on November 17th. And that is about what we truly value and how it's going to unfold for the future. Sagittarius is the future arrows. He's the archer. He sends the arrows out. What do we want the future to look like? And we have this crisis right now of value going on within. And it's really emotional, all right, because it's been in Scorpio, the watery, emotional sign, and it's all been at the precipice of the black hole, and I explained that in my last video. And now on November 17th, right before the new moon on November 23rd, we've been at the precipice emotionally, because that's where all the new moons have been. What do we care about? What we care about matters. And divinity wants to support us, even if we can't feel it in the moment, is the key to our expression here. And in breaking the Psyop, that is the key. And the rest of it is knowing that we can have a personal connection with the light that we are, with the divinity within. and that this is what unfolds outcomes. It's the divinity within humanity that does the creation. So use it consciously, is my suggestion.